Hello and welcome everybody. Really excited to be here today. Today's our sixth Orkestra webinar for the year, but very, very different to what we've had up until now. Today is actually the launch of our new product called Orkestra Operate. It's massive. We've been talking to customers for the last couple of years. We've been unpacking the challenges around the industry and the things that people are struggling with to really form and build a product that will elevate the way that companies can operate and manage their solar assets out in the field. I'm just going to wait a little minute while people are still rolling in. And I do have a little poll that I'm going to launch, just a question to see where everyone's at that's joining today. So it's just understanding how you're currently sort of tracking assets and managing assets. So if you'd like to just leave an answer there, it won't take long at all. There we go. Looks like we've got a lot of people joined already. So my name's Tyler Jackman. I'm the head of growth for APAC. Like I said, it's a product launch. We're super, super excited. So we've got lots to get through today. And also today, we're joined by a couple of people that you probably haven't seen in a webinar before. So we've got obviously lots of people behind the scenes at Orkestra, building product, designing product, and bringing these things to life. So what we're going to go through today is, why Operate, how it was created, where it was born from. So Chris is going to be joining us, our co-founder and co-CEO, to really talk us through that whole product vision. Like, where did this come from? What did we understand? What are the challenges that are out there? And then I'm also going to introduce you to Tim, our lead product designer, and Harika, our senior product manager, later on in the webinar, who are going to talk through kind of the build of the product, why we built it the way we did, and product demos. You're obviously going to want to see this thing and it in operation. Welcome, Harika, Tim, and Chris. Thanks for joining. Really excited to have you here today. And then also, thanks, guys. Thanks. And then also, we're going to have, obviously, Q&A at the end. So for anyone that has questions throughout the webinar, down the bottom, you'll see a little Q&A tab. There's two tabs. There's a chat and a Q&A. Please leave questions in the Q&A, and we will have time at the end of the webinar. We've got about 10 minutes to wrap up at the end where people can, ask all the questions about it. If we don't have time to get through everything, we'll be able to get to you later. So I'm going to hand over to Chris now to talk about the product vision and how it all came to life. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Tyler. No pressure at all with the vision. Nothing to talk about on this slide, Tim, so flick on. So we have a 3-product master plan here at Orkestra with the goal to help you and your clients make smarter energy decisions. And so one of these products you probably already know, Plan, that's feasibility analysis, and that's pre-sale, pre-installation to help you create business cases for those systems. Today, we're here to talk about Operate, asset performance tracking. And the third product that is scheduled for 2026 release is called Optimize. And really what that does is take the data from Operate, the live energy data, and we're automatically crunching those numbers on a regular basis to prospect for ways to improve those existing assets, improve the performance, and also detect for opportunities that you might want to offer and sell to those customers again into the future. And you can see that these 3 products, they're plotted on this circle, which is representing the energy project lifecycle. And it's a circle because we think that actually this is actually going to spin into perpetuity. And so our goal is to help you build long-term customer relationships here. And then you can move from selling solar to then selling batteries and becoming that trusted energy advisor for your clients. And so that we think that this 3-step seamlessly integrated product solution here, this platform, is really going to power that energy decision making as you move forward. So why are we building Operate? And it really stemmed from a questions that customers, next slide, please, Tim, customers were asking us that we're using Plan way back as pretty much as soon as we launched. Can you also calculate the financial savings after the system is installed? And we looked around and we thought, well, does this actually not exist? And we actually didn't find any service that did it. And so essentially all these systems are getting installed and sold on the promise of financial savings. And because it's quite hard to calculate those in an ongoing basis, most are in the dark, right? So that immediately piqued our curiosity, and we kicked off an internal research project, which was investigating more broadly the operational challenges of commercial and industrial energy projects. That was back in 2023. And so we started with primary research. We interviewed tons of customers. We did market research, and we sort of mocked up an initial concept and we tested that in the market. And frankly, we had really good feedback. It was resonating strongly. There was clearly some gaps we identified and some challenges we identified, but we also didn't quite get the solution positioning right. So that we went deeper. We assembled an early users group of some of the leading solar asset managers in Australia and New Zealand. And that really got us deep into their challenges that they were facing on a daily basis. And from there, we designed what we believe now is a exceptionally strong product to support our users in this space. That led to a technical proof of concept and internal alpha. And we've had a beta product, which is essentially an early version of the product live since January in deep testing as well with customers. So it's been a thorough journey to get to this point. And because of that, we're very confident that this is actually a really important addition into the world. So as part of that research, we discovered 4 key challenges that solar and commercial and industrial energy companies were struggling with when they were managing solar systems. Now, the first challenge is that customers have no visibility of project value. Obviously, customers usually go solar for the financial benefits and the carbon savings, but because that data is difficult to put together and difficult to calculate those savings, both the customers and the energy companies, solar companies servicing them are in the dark on such performance. Challenge number 2 is that your data is stuck in silos, and that makes operations and maintenance service delivery, it makes it difficult and expensive to scale, and frankly, challenging to create a high quality after sales service. And so really these services that some people are doing a great job at O&M service delivery, by the way. So those services might include performance tracking, might be custom reports and dashboards. Maybe there's some financial savings analysis, which is manually done. Some of you might be offering performance guarantees. And for PPA companies, you might be billing and obviously creating reports for your investors. But to actually generate these services, you need to pull data from various places. That means manual spreadsheets, exporting, uploading, manual calculation steps, and the increased risk of errors. And it just, frankly, is too much manual work and doesn't scale. Challenge number 3, reactive maintenance is missing the ultimate prioritization metric. And so we hear a lot about inverter portals that people might be using and the noise that those alerts are generating, right? It's not great for asset issue triage and prioritization. Others might be using some asset management, solar asset management software, which they're great services. They'll typically look at kilowatt hours underperformance, which is definitely better than the inverter portals, but we still think they're missing the mark when it comes to using the ultimate metric. So what we're planning to do is to look at that kilowatt hour underperformance, but also add dollars per day underperformance as a metric per asset. Critically, dollars cuts across asset types, different asset technologies, and different asset sizes. That makes it really easy to prioritize your reactive maintenance and your truck rolls. And it makes it really easy to, I suppose, trigger alerts based on a simple threshold of dollars per day underperformance. And challenge number 4, the final one, is that existing platforms, the feedback we got was that they take a narrow view on energy operations. So solar monitoring platforms and asset management platforms, they're very kilowatt hour centric, which is great. That's the bare minimum. But it doesn't really help you better manage the client relationship and give the customer what they need. It doesn't really help you manage your business needs and your business processes when it comes to that O&M service delivery. And the prevailing view was that there wasn't a high level of trust that these solar monitoring and asset management platforms are going to expand well into the more advanced new energy technologies like batteries and so on. And so that's something that we detected was a bit of a gap as well. And so the summary is that while some do a great job at managing O&M customer relationships, many are really struggling with it. Either they are sort of, if you have an O&M contract, it might be that you're just struggling to scale the client relationship cost effectively. But often if you do not have an O&M contract with a certain customer, it's not unusual for those customers to really never be spoken to again, right? Because often they are viewed as an inconvenience and not a valuable future opportunity. And it's not necessarily the fault of the solar installer that that's the outcome. It's just that they don't have the data in the right place, the time, or the tools to engage confidently with that customer should they reach out. And so this, I suppose, forms a bit of the North Star for our product, which I'll dive into a bit more now. Next slide, Tim, please. I don't do title slides, do I? So this is the first look at Operate. So our goal here is to allow you to effortlessly scale your C&I solar portfolio. And so it's an asset management platform that tracks energy and financial performance. And so there's 2 modules that we're going to walk through today in demos. We have a client portal that's customer facing, and we also have a performance module, which is an internal tool for you to manage those assets. And the benefits of Operate is that it's one integrated platform to manage your assets, your client relationship, and your portfolio finances should you actually own those assets, maybe a PPA company. So for commercial industrial energy customers, you can track your financial and carbon savings via a very easy to understand dashboard. All the data is downloadable for further analysis. For asset managers and solar companies, it allows you to elevate your customer experience. You can deliver O&M contracts with ease and allows you to scale your operations efficiently. And for PPA managers, it allows you to track revenue in real time. You can track your portfolio performance against various benchmarks and in dollars. And obviously there's invoicing coming and revenue reconciliation coming as well soon. We'll walk you through that in a moment. Just before we get the barrage of questions on integrations, just wanted to touch on device coverage. So we've invested a lot this year to build out a wide range of integrations to ensure that you can access the product. So these are often solar inverters, there might be meters, including gate meter integrations, so we can marry that data up with the generation. And where priority, if you don't see your inverter or device that you're predominantly using here, don't worry, talk to us anyway, because we'll be prioritizing this further integrations roadmap this year based on user need. And yeah. And I believe that's it for me. I'll pass back to Tyler, who can introduce the next presenters for the demos. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and yeah, really good overview of the challenges. I know you've been heavily involved with this over the last couple of years, exploring in the fine detail what the challenges are and how to build out this platform. So yeah, I'm going to introduce Tim. So Tim is our lead product designer. Like I said, Tim hasn't been on a webinar for us. These are the guys that are behind the scenes building the product and bringing it to life. But we wanted to bring Tim and Harika along today because they have been so hands-on and instrumental in building out the Operate portal as we know it. So welcome, Tim. I'm going to hand over to you now to take us on a bit of a run through the client portal, which is just one module of the Operate platform. Welcome, Tim.
Cheers, mate. Thanks. Yeah, so, as Chris was saying, when we started to have a look at the opportunity here, we actually realized that no one was actually really thinking about the end client, and no one had actually designed like a portal that was really focused on explaining the benefits of their solar system or their renewable assets in language that the actual end client actually understood. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of complication. Inverter aggregation portals create all sorts of confusion. And so what we've really done is sort of focused on creating a platform that's easy to understand and that is in language that really matters to customer. And so really focusing on the things that customers care about. So let me just show you. This is a working version at the moment. This is some anonymized data that we have in a working version of the client portal that you can see here. And so high level, you can see what we've really done. It's made it really simple to understand and really just focus on the things that customers actually care about. So their energy usage, which you can see here, solar generation, what part of that actually ends up being consumed, what ends up getting put through to the grid. You can see a daily average here in terms of what that looks like in terms of the average day. You can kind of have a look through the time periods here. And as you can see, like all of this information is really explained in really simple terms. So it's like what matters to the customer. It's about energy usage. It's about the financial benefits of the system, which is something that we've really dialed up, and carbon as well. And so, we've sort of really thought about like, what is the minimum amount of information that we want to share, and really focusing on the benefits. But there's additional things that we've put in here. So if you have a PPA contract or it's under O&M management, we can have details here about that contract so that those details are available to the customer. And we also have like a lot of detailed explainers for all of these different charts that we have in here, just to make sure that people understand them. So every chart has a little side panel here with detailed explanations about all of the different metrics that are being tracked in those charts. And one of the things that we've really sort of thought a lot about as well in all of this is actually thinking about like how do we present this? And so we've spent a lot of time, actually, one of the things that we've been really working on very heavily in the back end at the moment is actually uplifting the way that we actually build these systems. And so in the back end, we've got a design system now where we are actually able to really beautifully theme all of the portals and all of the, primarily for customers, being able to sort of theme those portals. And so what that means is it's very easy for us to generate variations of client portals that actually look either like your theme, or we can actually pick up the brand from your end client as well, and really sort of help that, because we believe strongly that good design builds trust. And so good design is obviously visual appeal, but it's also about clearly communicating and using the appropriate language and visual hierarchy and good information architecture as well to make things really easy to understand.
Amazing. Tim, this is looking really, really sharp. I know this is an energy tab that we're on right now. Like, I really want to have a look at one of the most important things for the end customer or end client, which is financials. Like, how are we showing them savings and benefit there?
Yeah, definitely. And so financials is obviously, financial modeling is something that Orkestra has actually built a business on. It's a thing that we've got a lot of expertise in. And so underpinning each client portal is sort of three key things. So we've got live data flows from meters and then from inverters. We also have a bill modeling algorithm that sits underneath all of that, where we actually use accurate tariffs and use then that generation data. And then we have a digital twin as well, which uses real-time weather data to be able to model generation as well. So, and the way that two parts of that come together here, that live data feed that's coming through in terms of the actual generation and that bill modeling actually enables us to do this rich data visualization of the actual financial benefits of the system, which is really a big piece that's missing at the moment. Having that trust and being able to present the financial benefit post-sale to clients in a way that they really understand. So here the client will be able to choose date ranges, but they can see here very, very clearly like monthly savings, those accumulated savings over time as well. And they can actually dive into a bill analysis. And so here they'll be able to see, in this instance, you can see this is with a PPA, but this will also work for outright owned assets, for solar as well. And so basically what we're modeling here is with the digital twin, we're kind of running a counterfactual. So this is what they would have paid if they didn't have that solar system installed. And then this is what they're actually paying now with the solar system. And you can see the breakdown of charges. Again, this is for a PPA, so that you can actually see PPA charges plus those energy bill charges. And we've got a rich breakdown here. And so for people who actually use Plan today, you'll be familiar with this bill chart comparison that we already have baked in. We've sort of just enriched this a little bit more. And now we can accurately show that information to customers, which we think is a really big plus.
Yeah, that's great. It's really honing in on benefits, right? It's not about performance. It's about benefits and dollars that it's showing. Look, we get a lot of questions every day, and I know that our customers, they have to do a lot of reporting, and there's a lot of back and forth between their clients around, like, how do they report on carbon? How easy can their clients access the carbon information? I know this is the third tab here, so yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more about that, Tim.
For sure. So what we've done here is really visualize the carbon benefits of the system in language that is easy to understand, and we've built it in a way. So underneath all of this, we've actually got really accurate carbon modeling, and so we have some flexibility here so that we can use different data sets to be able to ensure that we're accurate, and basically we're using the accurate grid emissions intensity so that we're actually getting down to actually understanding like when that energy is being used and what the intensity of the grid is, to be able to really accurately model the financial benefit. And as Chris said, and this is a thing across all of our platforms, across performance and across the client portal, all of this data is downloadable. You can download the charts or you can download the CSV, and then it'll download all of the information that we use to calculate this for the time range that the customer or the client has specified here. And so hopefully this actually will enable the client to do that carbon reporting themselves, because they'll be able to pull this data out and combine that with the rest of their ESG reporting.
Amazing. And I know, on this journey, Tim, and thank you to our early user group as well for all the constant feedback we're getting. And something that I think there's a couple of things in here that are getting built right now, which have come as very, very important to our customers that are using the application. But Tim, I'd love you to talk us through, what we've got planned for the multi-sites or their clients that have multiple assets out there, because it is very, very important for them to have a nice login and a nice view of all of those sites and being able to aggregate that. So, yeah, I'd love you to take us through what's coming up next for the client portal.
Yeah, 100%. We were actually really surprised, how much traction we got with the client portal. And then this is one of the ways that I think is really great about the way that we build product. We, as Chris was saying, we've been really informed about our initial opinions about it, but you're working there on the front line, talking to customers every day and getting a better understanding of what it is that they really need. And so this piece of work is actually quite reactive from us, because we realized how important it was to actually aggregate all of that information together. So what we're building here is the ability for our customers who service clients that have portfolios of assets actually present that in an aggregated portfolio view back to the customer or back to the client. And so I'll just walk you through. This is a bit of a clickable prototype. So this is actually in build at the moment and will be ready in a couple of weeks. So basically what you can see here now, probably the easiest way to think about this is kind of like it's a wrapper that goes around the client portal that I just showed you, that live version. This will actually sit over the top of all of those client portals. So basically you'll be able to create a group of portals, which basically refer to individual sites. You can see here in this world here, we've got 21 sites. You can see now aggregated data across solar performance, solar self-consumption, carbon savings, and financial savings. And you can actually now see all of those locations on the map. And I think one of the things that we're kind of realizing with this map-based view is it just makes it real. You can actually see the assets. You really get a sense of that portfolio of assets. So basically in this wrapper that will go over the top of everything, you'll have this map view here. You'll have a chart view where you can actually dive into aggregated chart information from across that portfolio. And then there is also a table view. So the difference between the chart view and the table view is so you have a group of sites. In the chart view, basically you can see trends aggregated all up together. But in the table view, you can actually dive into the individual performance of those assets and have a look at them. You'll be able to sort these columns to be able to dive into across the different metrics, and you're also always able to change the time frame down here as well. And so one of the things that we're doing here with this is we're actually being able to aggregate up different types of assets. So the way that we think about an asset is really it's a set of technologies that has a business model applied to it. So currently we're supporting PPAs, and we're also supporting like solar assets as well, and they would sort of have an O&M or some sort of performance guarantee sort of wrapped around them. And so if we dive in here into an individual site now, wanting to just sort of touch on another thing that's coming, which is solar performance. We know that a lot of our customers already have performance guarantees or are looking at being able to lean into that more as another revenue stream. And so what we're in the process of working on at the moment is actually being able to show that performance in really simple terms that's really easy for customers to understand. But we also understand that this is not something that all of our customers want to show to their clients. And so this will be customizable. And so this is this sort of next iteration of the client portal that we're working towards, is having actually individual blocks or modules that you can turn on and off depending on the needs of that customer. And we'll be working with our customers at the moment that are onboarding with us at the moment to ensure that this solar performance is in line with the performance guarantees that they offer to their clients.
Yeah, amazing, Tim. I'm really excited to see this one come to life. And another sort of late addition, and I know it's also got a lot of feedback. I've got a lot of feedback over the last couple of months about this one, but payback tracking. So for potential CapEx assets that have been installed, we know there's a upfront cost associated with that. How can we potentially show the end clients a really easy format that they can see the benefits of that asset they've invested in?
Yeah, 100%. So again, this is a little prototype or a clickable prototype of the thing that we're building at the moment as well. And so we're actually going to implement payback periods. So for assets that are owned outright by the client, we can now, or we will be able to very soon, be able to give you a very easy way for them to actually understand, like, what they were promised and then what that reality looks like in the real world. And so this sort of bolts on over the top of that financial modeling that I was talking about before. So to start off with, you'd set up the initial estimate along with some basic overheads of management of the system, and then that sort of forms this forecast annual cash flow that you can see here in the original forecast of when that payback, that kind of crossover estimated payback period would happen. And then basically as that system aggregates data in, we will then have a visualization here of the actual annual cash flow and then be updating this estimated payback period as that data comes in. And so they can actually see when they cross over into that period when the system or the project is actually profitable, and then be able to continue to track the profitability of that over time. And so again, this is another flexible, customizable module. You don't have to necessarily show that, but this will be another optional extra that you'll be able to add to client portals in the very near future.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tim. The client portal, very, very exciting. And I know there's probably a lot of you on the call right now that I've had conversations with over the last couple of months. And yes, we're listening. So I know there's a lot of conversations, especially with this multi-site and the payback tracking that I've heard, and you can see that flow of information going through to, Tim in the designing team. So Client Portal is just one part of our Operate platform. So right now, I'm going to hand over and introduce you to Harika, our Senior Product Manager. We're going to talk about performance. So yes, the Client Portal is amazing. The Performance Portal is what sits in the back end. So it's for anyone that's out there that's in the operations side. They're managing the assets. They need to understand the performance of these assets and how to, I guess, triage them when there is underperformance. So welcome, Harika. I mean, the asset managers out there, they're the unsung heroes of the solar industry, right? There's a lot of work that goes in post-installation. I know it's all exciting up in the sales end, but what happens afterwards is so important. And what we understand is that this takes a lot of resourcing and a lot of time to get it right. So Harika, I'd love for you today to take us through what we've built in the performance module and why it's going to be so beneficial for those teams that are out there managing assets. Welcome, Harika.
Yes.
Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Tyler. Let me start by sharing my screen. I think to your point, Tyler, we know how hard managing solar assets can be, right? Juggling between a lot of spreadsheets and monitoring different portals. And it's incredibly resource heavy, especially if you're managing tens or even hundreds of assets, right? So can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen now? Cool. I think what I'm going to do is probably take you through quickly into one of our projects. This is a PPA-based project we have here with a total of 22 assets. And the goal is really simple, right? So one easy to use application where everything comes together, giving you a really clear view of all your assets with intuitive energy and financial performance tracking. So if I were to take you through this with this customer with 22 assets, we are starting at the table view. And as you can see, this one has got like 2 tabs here, financials and asset. Say if you are a PPA-based customer, you will definitely see these 2 tabs, the financials and asset. And if you're a client-owned, you got to see just the asset because you won't have any financials to it. In the financials tab here, what you're seeing is the summary bar. So as you can see very clearly, it gives you at a glance view of revenue, your forecast, and the variation between them as well. And if you scroll down, if you come to the table view, each row represents an asset. And as Tim was explaining earlier, an asset is typically represented as a financial transaction. And it could be a PPA site, one asset. And in the future, once we have batteries and EVs, there'll be like different assets sitting in one site probably. So let me just also take you to the asset. And oh, sorry, before I go, can you see this? Like, we have a very simple traffic light system to show you how your solar assets are performing, just like you'd expect, right? The green means everything is going really well. Amber suggests that they may be like slightly underperforming, and red maybe needs your attention. So switching to the asset tab, this is where you will actually see your system health, generation compared to your forecast and compared to your potential as well. So if I were to show you, so we'll come back to this. Potential is a really powerful metric. I will take you through how this helps us, where it takes into account the weather adjusted data using a digital twin in a little bit more detail in a while. So let's jump into charts now. I'm just going to take you through the financial charts. And just a quick heads up, we're still in beta and we're constantly rolling out few changes with slight delay in slight lag in some of these things. It's just here actually. If you were to look into the financial charts, which we'll be seeing in a minute, these are the key for managing your PPAs, right? Look at this. So if you zoom into one of these charts here, so it all depends upon, you may ask me a question as well, like what we take into account when you're setting up your data, right? Like how is it looking when you're managing a PPA financial model? So managing a financial model, if it's a PPA, isn't like one size fits all. Every PPA has its like own unique terms. So we work with you to tailor the model to your specific setup. So because we need to take into account like your PPA rates, your escalation percentage, system degradation over time, to build that model for you. If you have forecast data from your original model, great, we can ingest that directly. If not, we can also generate a reliable forecast using a PVlib and PVGIS as well. So the more complete your data, I think the more precise the financial model is going to look like. But don't worry, we do support all levels of data maturity here. So if I take this example here, what you're seeing here is the revenue breakdown of the PPAs as well. For example, if you have it gives you the revenue breakdown PPA type. If you're managing a mixed portfolio, like you have production as well as consumption-based PPAs as well, this will quickly give you which types are contributing to the revenue the most. And then also this one, the variation from forecast, showing you where you're over or underperforming in dollars, which I think is quite powerful, because so your asset managers, your finance teams can get answers in like minutes now without even like a further delay of them finding it from spreadsheets and stuff. And let's go back into a table so that we can pick one of these ones. And whatever you're seeing here, we're looking into the aggregated view. If you were to go into one of these ones, we could go in. This one is the individual asset view. It essentially is the same layout and tabs you saw before, but it's now all focused on the single site with all its own details in it. Yeah, any questions there, Tyler?
Harika, like, this is great. I love it. I love the financial layering for PPAs. Look, I know a lot of people on the call today are not PPA operators. They're managing assets. They have O&M contracts. They have performance management, performance guarantees in there. So how does this all tie in for those assets as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's still super relevant because, a lot of you, as you're saying, are managing performance guarantees and O&M contracts. I think one key thing to remember here is while they are non-PPA customers, they just don't have financials, but the rest of the information, the underlying system data is still exactly the same. Things like your solar system details, forecast, they all just remain as important. So I would like to show you this, I think, which would really help you tracking your performance guarantees. So on this chart, what you're seeing here is it's the area chart where it shows you the actual generation along with the forecast from your original data models, or which we kind of done one for you, and the potential. So this potential is where I was saying would come back to this, is actually what's powerful is it reflects real-time weather data thanks to a Soulcast integration. So instead of you comparing to a forecast, like a typical TMY, what we're doing here is we're comparing it to what was actually possible given the weather conditions for that particular coordinates and for the particular day and all that as well. So this is a huge shift, right? Because it gives you a far more accurate, fair, and context-aware performance. And if you're managing a contract tied to performance guarantee, like you were just saying, Tyler, this is exactly the kind of metric you would need, right? Because this will prove whether the system is underperforming or it's just a cloudy day for you. So I would love to take you through this example here. So if you see for the month of April here, it feels like the generation or is actually a below forecast. But if you actually see the potential, which is here, it's almost like pretty similar to your generation, which means that, here we go, it's a key metric here, that it tells that though the forecast was saying that it should have been generated more, it actually tied to your potential, which is saying for that period of April, there has been bad weather, or maybe the weather hasn't been great. So you're performing as you should have been. Yeah. So this would be, I think, yeah. And also don't forget this tooltips here. I think they're very important. As we're exploring the charts all over the place, you'll notice tooltips appear when you hover over different charts and stuff. These are designed to guide you and make sure you're never left guessing what each of these represents. Yeah.
And I guess, Harika, we've heard a lot about performance. So, I mean, I speak to customers every day who are tracking potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of their assets and trying to figure out which ones are underperforming. So, yeah, how can somebody do that in this performance module?
Oh, yeah, I can show you how. And we do hear that a lot, right? So if I were to go back into the table here, everyone wants to improve O&M, right? But the real challenge is, like, how do you do it in a way that's scalable and not resource heavy? So let me just show you here. I'll show you a really simple yet powerful way to spot your underperforming assets. So we're on the asset tab, and can you see that in generation and potential, I have a lot of filters. I can sort this by. If I were to sort from worst to best, right away, you can see which assets are performing and are not performing as well compared to the forecast and also compared to the potential. So here, what we're seeing is the underperforming assets are at the top. And then now imagine you're part of an O&M team, right? This instantly gives you a target list, a list of sites which you can put them into a group. Grouping is coming, it's nearly there. We're just adding final touches to it. What you can do is you can create groups from these views like this. So in one click, you can have all these underperforming assets, save them to a group, share it with your team, let them add more to it, whichever are underperforming, and you can keep shifting between time range as well. It doesn't have to be last 6 months. You can track the ones which are underperforming yesterday, last 7 days, or 30 days. So you can just play around with the date times as well. Yeah, so does it help this? Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, really, really powerful. And I think one of the big things is that we talk about reactive maintenance and proactive maintenance. And I think proactive maintenance is very resource heavy to get ahead of things. We're thinking of this in a way where let this platform do the proactive maintenance so that you can be reactive. You can only focus your time on the assets that you need to pay attention to. I think that's the way we've really tried to wrap this up in here. Another thing we're getting a lot of questions about, and seems to be a big time drag out there across the industry, is reporting. So being able to pull data out of a portal, put it into reports, whether that's internal reporting, whether it's external reporting. So how are we going to make people's lives a bit easier there, Harika?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tyler, because pulling together just the basic portfolio insights can take hours, jumping across different systems and you exporting different spreadsheets and stuff. So with Operate, honestly, couldn't be easier. Let me show you how. So if I can go back, and there's a table view, we do have these filters in here. And then say I want to filter by client, say I want to report by one of the clients which we have, and say that's Aurora Renewables, right? And then I apply the filter and I come back. Can you see that it filtered with all your sites belonging to that particular customer? So what we're doing here is if you need a specific time frame, let's say I need to report in the last 30 days, I do that. And then just updating it to last month, you can see that there is a download button in the toolbar. So you can download the entire table, the data, the revenue and forecast. And also you can switch to charts. And you can also download either your individual charts, or every chart has a downloadable icon, which you can download into your CSV or save it as a PNG, or do both of them, right, into your Office suite. And then also, I think what I'm trying to tell you here is, so whatever you're seeing in performance, whether it's like table or charts, everything you're seeing here is fully downloadable and ready to share in just a few clicks. And also, speaking of reporting, Tyler, we'll talk more in a minute about how we're working to report, how we're going to take reporting into the next level, including some new features, which I think we're very excited to give you a sneak peek of. Yeah, that's it for me, I guess. Thank you for following along. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harika. I know there's been lots of claps and love hearts and celebrations here, and it is exciting. It is a beautiful product that we've built. We spent a lot of time on that. And it's all come to life now. And it's not just beautiful to look at, but it's also very, very practical to try and make everyone's life easier managing assets. So I'm going to hand back over to Tim, because I know there was a few things mentioned in there, and I'm seeing some questions coming through as well about this. So it's perfect timing. So Tim, I'm going to hand back over to you to just talk us through a little bit about what's coming up, what's in build at the moment and in flight that will be delivered very, very soon. That's going to add a lot more value to the Operate platform.
Yeah,
over to you, Tim.
Cheers, mate. You're calling my designs beautiful. That's very touching.
Elegance.
Yeah. So look, a bunch of new things that are coming. Again, the next one that I want to show you is actually something again has really been driven by customer requests. So customizable issue alerts and notifications. So this is something that's in the next sort of stage of the roadmap that we're rolling out. And again, this is a quick little clickable prototype. This is basically what Harika was just showing you here, but with the small addition now of having actually this sort of alerts sort of icon in here as well. And you can see the number of alerts that are set. So if there's no alerts, it's grayed out. if there's an alert, it's red, and you can see then the number of alerts that are on that particular asset. If we then click into that, and you'll be able to always get, if there's alerts, you'll also see it down here in the toolbar, and you'll be able to click on this. It'll open up this side panel. So basically what we have here in this side panel is an aggregation of all of the alerts that have been set. So basically you set a number of alerts, and then you will be able to see each one of the assets that actually have triggered that alert. And then when there's a business model applied, in the instance here of PPA, we can actually also quantify to our customers like what that's costing on a per day dollar amount, which was the thing that Chris was sort of talking about earlier, really getting down to that sort of normalizing metric. So alerts, obviously everyone's going to have different opinions about what alerts they want to run. Alerts will be highly customizable. So to start off with, what we'll have a default set of alerts that you'll be able to choose from. You'll just be able to toggle them on and off, and they'll be sort of tracking those sort of key metrics that we know that will matter. So revenue underperformance. So here it's sort of variation from forecast. But what you'll be able to customize is actually choosing the threshold in terms of like how much underperformance, and also what the sort of trigger time frame is. Because if we're measuring 25% below forecast, it's like what time period are we actually caring about? So here for this particular alert, it's set to the last 14 days. So that will sort of help you again with this sort of reactive maintenance, understanding, hey, all of a sudden we're down below forecast. You can apply it to a class of assets. So this is in this instance, all PPAs, and then also choose who gets notified and how they get notified. The other thing that you also will be able to do is be able to create custom alerts with a similar sort of set of parameters, but be able to choose the metrics that matter to you and then name them the way that you would like to name them as well. So jumping across into how would we actually then triage this? So what we've built in here, obviously you'll be able to see here in the table view, you'll be able to see all of the alerts. But again, if we've got a really large portfolio of assets that is under management, that could be pages and pages of assets. And so what this is sort of this alert triaging system that we've built here. So basically you can just go through, review all of the alerts. You can see at the moment there's 7 alerts that are currently needing to be reviewed. Again, you can see high level what that alert type is and some information about what that dollar a day is. And then you'll be able to dive into that sort of asset level or site level detail. Another thing that's actually coming soon is that we're actually going multi-asset per site as well. So you'll be able to see grouped up together at the site level in the application. You'll be able to toggle backwards and forwards between the different assets and see them here. So from here, you'd be able to go in, investigate the alert and understand why that alert has been triggered, and then decide how you would like to triage that. Probably what you would have done at this point then is okay, we've sent a team out to go and triage that. Now we kind of want to suppress that alert for a little while. So we'll be able to snooze that. That alert will now be snoozed for the next 14 days, and then it'll come back up again if the underlying problem hasn't been resolved. And so from here, we'll basically be able to just go next and work our way through. You can see now there's 6 alerts that need to be reviewed, and we can just easily work our way through all of the alerts that have been triggered.
Yes, really exciting to see this one come to life, Tim. Like it's very, very powerful and just helps fly above all the noise. We know inverter notifications are very, very noisy. There's lots of them. So let's track the things that actually matter. So yeah, a couple other things here to move through. So I really want to see a bit more about reporting. Harika touched on it briefly, but let's see what's coming up on the reporting side.
Yeah, 100%. So as Harika mentioned, like all of the data that we currently have is already downloadable, but we want to sort of lean further into that and actually do better report integration. If you're a Sell customer over on Plan, we already have custom docs. And what we're looking at is as part of this uplift of reporting, we're looking at like reporting holistically across both applications. So this is part of the thing that we're doing at the moment now is as we move into this sort of 2 application world, we're looking at how can we sort of share like tools and functionalities across both of those sort of platforms. And so this is sort of, future, something that's in the roadmap sort of coming up next is the ability to actually create reports. So very similar to what Harika was saying before is you would go through and decide, okay, like what am I reporting on? So there's lots of different ways that you could do that. This is the grouping functionality that she was talking about before. You'd be able to just click on a number of these assets if you want to do an ad hoc kind of report just based on assets in the table. But in this workflow here, I'll just take you through how you do it by filtering. So again, you might want to filter, you'll choose a client. There's that, you choose Caltex, then you can be like, okay, so let's apply that filter. Now this table is updated. You can see there's a filter applied here and all these sort of summary metrics have been updated. Now you have this ability to create a report from the toolbar. You'll be able to choose, you can tweak that again. So you can choose like which assets do you want to apply it to, which views, what is the time frame, and then be able to choose a template from the library that you've already uploaded, select that template, and then basically all of that data will be pulled into this template. People who are familiar with custom docs will understand how that works. And basically, bang, you've created that report that is now being queued up and will live here in the reports section for you to be able to download and send and do all of the things you would like to do with that report afterwards.
Nice one, Tim. And I guess just that last one I really want to touch on. This is a very exciting one for any PPA operators out there, PPA managers. So just that invoicing. So being able to manage everything in the same platform, flowing all the way to invoicing to the customer and managing the kind of financials around that. What's that going to look like?
Yeah, 100%. And also, we'd just touch on the fact that we're actually also working on something else in tandem. Very, very busy team of developers at the moment. We are churning out a lot of work in the background. And so we've actually been really successful, very thankful to actually receive a grant from Arena. And we're actually currently also integrating, as Harika sort of touched on, we're also integrating EV chargers as a new asset type that will be integrated into performance and eventually into the client portal as well. But seeing that as part of this Arena grant, we actually are working with a group of our a group of our customers, and for the next 12 months, that will be exclusively available to them. But so in about a year from now, we'll also be able to show that and sort of launch that to the world as well, which is another exciting thing that we've been working on. But jumping back to invoicing, I know, again, when Chris and I were sort of talking to our early users group as part of this sort of discovery process for Operate, invoicing was just like such a painful thing, multiple systems, like lots of data issues. It was very, very painful. So what we've gone and done is we've sort of already done a little bit of a proof of concept here. We've done an integration with Xero to make sure that we can actually get this working in the back end. And we've sort of architected out how this invoicing system would work. So here we're sort of diving in. So now you can see we have this new module here, invoicing, that would show up in the toolbar. And we've sort of dived straight into a workflow just for ease of demonstration today. So basically you can see very similar pattern to the sort of notification or the sort of alert triaging thing that we've got. Good design, standardized patterns. It's a thing that I've really been trying to champion here. So basically in this worldview that we've got, this particular customer has set, they've got more than 100 assets that they're sort of managing. They don't want to eyeball every single invoice because they know that the system will flag invoices that have issues. So this invoice here has been flagged for review. And now, so you can see there's 4 invoices in total for review. You can dive in and you can see the details of the invoice. And the reason why this invoice has been flagged for review is because the meter hasn't reported back. That was one of the biggest issues that we heard, was meters not reporting back inside of the billing period, and then our customers having to go back, either pause and wait till that data came through or actually upload interval data. So what we're able to do here is because we do have that digital twin, and so we do have a weather estimate, is that we can actually create an estimate of what that generation should be for the period and fill that in. And then the system will keep track of that estimate and then do the reconciliation on the next invoice once that meter reports back home. What you also will be able to do here is refine that weather estimate up and down. So you'll be able to say, hey, well, this looks like it's a little bit high or low. So there'll be some simple sort of scaling functionality here to tidy that up. Or you'll have the opportunity to upload that interval data if you do have inverter data or something like that you would like to write over the data source here. And then you'll be able to see here, you can see invoicing data for this particular period and also the billing history for this client. So basically, okay, this all looks good. I'm happy to set this up. I'm going to set it ready to send. So now basically this is all queued up in our ready to send kind of group. And basically the system will automatically, on the day that you've set, will set this up. So this is just one of the workflows that we will support. In the settings section, you'll be able to customize like what invoices you would like to review, whether you'll send them out manually, what dates, like what is your sort of like the periods, like the days of the month that you tend to send out your invoices on. Jumping back into, oops, sorry, you have to approve this one as well. So you can see you go through the process. So if I dive back into the top here now, very similar to the layout of performance as well, slightly different metrics. So you can see here invoices that are current, that have been sent, but haven't been paid yet, paid invoices, the ones that are overdue as well. And so here you can see we're in the for review tab. So these are the last 3 invoices that still need to be reviewed. There's a group here that are sitting in to send. That means they're waiting until in this instance, the 3rd of the month to send out those invoices. You can see the invoices from the last billing period that are still within that 30 days that have been sent and haven't been paid. Paid invoices, overdue invoices, and aged debt. And again, similar sort of pattern. What we will also do is support the ability to sort of have some charts here to help you see trends. So current age of debt, you might be sort of tracking overdue debt as percentage of billed. So you might have some key metrics around that for your debt collection. And you'll also be able to see billed versus received revenue, and also see here again that forecast revenue metric, see how you're tracking against your forecast revenues, and also have an aggregated cash flow, again, for the period that you've set, all flexible. You can choose your timeframes and all of that sort of stuff as well.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was amazing. And as you can see, everyone in the team is very, very passionate about the launch of this product and everything that's gone into it. So I might actually just hand back over to Chris, who's really been a part of this journey from the beginning. Like, how are you feeling? Second product for Orkestra. What does this world look like, Chris?
Mute. You're on mute, mate.
Always someone got to be on mute. No, look, it's been a journey. We've been going 4 years as a business, and I think what we see in this second product is a maturity. We've learned a lot, right, about how to build products and how not to build products. Frankly, the 3 founders, James, Michael, and myself, we had no idea how to build software when we started this business, right? So we've just been winging it pretty much since day one. But one thing that we are is we are very curious. We love your feedback. We listen to it and we learn, right? And I think what you see here is the benefits of all of that collective learning. We've got a great, strong team now with some excellent talent, and that also helps. But I think what you're seeing now is a really mature product that is going to have an impact and make a difference in the lives of solar companies and energy asset managers. And I suppose there was a lot of frames today in the demo that might have had PPA on them. I just want to give comfort that this is really not for PPA operators only. This is, of course, for anyone that is selling and managing solar systems. And those financial savings and costs of underperformance, we'll be covering that for non-PPAs soon as well. So that will be more reflective of your client underperformance client savings. So I just wanted to touch on that, just if anyone was wondering why there was so much PPA on the screen in the demo.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Tim, for skipping to the next slide. So I guess, look, just conscious of time, everyone, we do have a few questions to get through. We've still got a lot of people on the call. We are happy to go a bit over. But just to kind of wrap this up, I think, look, if you're out there managing assets, if you are relating to any of these challenges, are you facing any of these challenges that we mentioned today, and want to have a chat with us, there's a QR code here to book in a bit of time. I'm also going to post something in the chat right now that everyone can see. There's a link there to book in some time with either myself or Jake to have a bit of a discovery call and a demo and go through. You've kind of had the demo today, but it'd be great to understand more about your specific situations and how we can help. And then also, I know it's been mentioned a few times, but massive shout out to the whole team behind the scenes have been building this product. It's been an absolute grind, I know, but it's been very, very exciting. So congratulations to the entire Orkestra team that sits behind this, and also to our early users group. So our customers that have come on board early, they know it's been, a give and take process. And thank you for all your feedback along the way, because it's been instrumental for us building this product out to meet your needs. So thank you there. So we are going to go to Q&A. There's been, please, if you've got questions, leave them in the Q&A down the bottom. We'll try and get through as many as possible. There's quite a lot here. I know we're strapped for time, so I'm going to dive straight into some. And thank you for all your feedback as well. So I guess one of the first ones I want to start with from Nasik is about that, going back to client portal, and it's about, yes, we're grabbing a lot of financial details and how that site's performing. So what is the process, or how do we grab that information from the end customer so that we can figure out what their actual cost is going to be, or their actual benefits are going to be from that? Chris, maybe over to you, or Tim, whoever wants to jump in here.
Look, I can answer. Yeah. So obviously it starts with generation data. To get accurate, we need to also understand where that solar energy goes. Is it consumed on site? Does it go to the grid? And so to get the full view of it, we do need the meter data as well. That might be, connected to the solar inverter. If you have that sort of additional meter on the inverter, but we also have an option if you don't have it, which is to use the meter at the gate, the import and export, and we match that, calibrate that data up. We have an API with the customer consent. That data can be brought into the platform ongoing via the cloud. Right. And so that's the key other thing. Then we need a bill as well. And then we can convert that into a tariff. And that forms the foundational financial model moving forward. And there might be a few other additional things we need to understand about the system and the site to configure. But essentially, it's not too onerous. We've got some really great systems to get the data that we need set up efficiently. We're just working on those all the time. And at some point over the next sort of 3 months to 6 months, we'll make this fully self-service with as much sort of batch processing potential as possible.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. Good explainer there. Another one I think is going to be very, very relevant, but someone here's asked, how can they demonstrate this to their clients? So how are they going to be able to demonstrate the client portal? I know we've got a few plans coming up of how you can access that within the Orkestra portal itself. Either Chris or
I might take this one. I'll take the easy ones, Chris. You can do the hard ones. So look, what we are working on at the moment, as you've seen, we've got some demo sites that we're starting to work with, and what we will be looking towards is actually being able to build out a suite of dummy data that we can then create client portals and enable you to share that with your customer, because we understand, especially once we get to multi-site, I think it'll be something that'll get shipped in conjunction with multi-site, is the ability to actually preview that and make that really easy. One of the things I might just throw in here as well, another thing that we didn't talk about that we are working on, is the ability to theme those multi-sites as well. So with multi-site, we'll also be coming to a world where basically we can use an LLM. We are leaning into AI, for those of you who have saw our previous webinar. And so one of the things that we will be building in this way that you will set up those sites is basically you give us a URL and a logo, and we'll create a beautiful theme for you. So yeah, basically anyone who's signing up and to joining the queue today, by the time that you get onboarded, you'll definitely be able to preview to clients, and we'll sort of have that up and running very soon.
Yeah, I think just to support that as well, as we will support with some collateral. So we've got some slide decks that we can send around, which are more so customer facing, so also client facing, I guess. So you can show your customers, clients, what they would actually be seeing when they get their client portal login, because we know out there for a lot of you pitching sort of O&M services, that's a big part of it, right? It's a big part of what your clients are saying. What am I going to get for this, and how am I going to see my assets? So we'll be able to package up something and get something out to you so you can easily show that to them, which will help you wrap those packages up pretty nicely. I think
Tyler, related to that is that we're really striving to make this super sharp and affordable on pricing. And so underneath whatever you're selling to your customers, we think that this will be priced so it's only a fraction of any revenue you might get from an O&M contract, but it actually does all the work for you. And so to understand pricing more, it is tailored to your sort of portfolio size, and sort of the nature of the assets that you are, the sizes of the assets that you're tracking. And Tyler and Jake can work with you to get that pricing tailored up for you. But the headline is not going to be a barrier to adoption here. We want this to scale, so the pricing is sharp. And we've recently been listening, particularly in the lower, smaller asset size. We've been listening to some of the feedback about previous pricing that we had in the market. And we've really tightened that, so that even down to sort of 20 kilowatts or even small SME assets, like this should be a no-brainer for those as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, come and have a chat, book in some time with me. We can have a look at the assets. Try to make it really easy, simple to understand, very palatable, and kind of scales with the size of assets. We understand out there that it's a lot of people managing, I say, smaller assets, sub 100 kilowatt assets. So it's really important that we have something that's nice, easy to get into at that size, but then it goes all the way up to megawatt sizing as well. I think like a question that comes up quite regularly, and something that I've seen here as well today is, we've got client portal, we've got performance. Is this all in one? How's it wrapped up at the moment? What are you actually getting when you do sign up to Orkestra Operate? Chris?
Yeah, you get both. Yep. So this is like two products in one. If you have thousands of assets and you just want them for the client portal, which may be a case, talk to us anyway, because we won't rule it out for the right quantity. But the default is that you get both products in one, because they're both valuable products and they're two sides of a valuable coin. So that's the default.
Yeah, excellent. And I guess, as we could have expected, there's a few questions in here. We've got solar in there at the moment. We've got EV charging, which you touched on briefly, Tim, that's coming along pretty soon. And that's a part of our Arena project with a bunch of our partners. And then there's the battery piece. Obviously, we know a lot of people are using Orkestra Plan to model their battery projects. So batteries certainly on the time frame, but what does that kind of look like, Chris, just in sort of rough terms?
Yeah, well, actually, when we built our alpha, it does include batteries. So under the hood, we can already do it without any issues. It's really just like what we will be doing later this year is probably kicking off another customer research sort of reference group just on batteries in particular, because we want to get it right. And so it's looking like probably this year we'll just be sticking exclusively to solar. Unless there's pushback, then we might change that view. It might not be too crazy for us to add simple batteries initially, but really we want to get solar right, because that's where most of the existing portfolio is right now and the pain points are for customers. So we want to get that right first before we spread ourselves a bit thinner and expand to batteries. But again, as I said, nothing's baked in. If there's pushback on that from our customers, we'll listen to that.
Yeah, excellent.
Another group, I just saw a question come through on LGC reports, and I think this is a good one because we're chatting increasingly with those that are managing LGCs, and it does relate to generation and also carbon. It's sort of tangential to that, and so we're really interested in listening to your needs. If you've seen things that today you liked, but it wasn't quite hitting the mark for your specific use case because you've got a unique sort of operating model, we really want to hear from you, because there might be ways for us to quite easily add different features that cater to those needs. So if you're managing LGCs in a specific reporting format, for example, I dare say the system we've set up will be able to easily extend to that functionality, either by the reporting function or some sort of fast features that we can add. And on carbon, I just want to touch on carbon methodologies. It's sort of like they're a dime a dozen. And so we're actually looking to double down on that variability and how people report carbon. And so we'll have a range of methodologies ultimately that will be able to be selected, including sort of interval granularity carbon sort of analysis and so on.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. I see a few questions coming in from David. Thanks. A lot of these are about our planning product. I know there's a lot of you out there that are customers already that are using our planning tool. I might reach out after the call just because I can get into much more detail with you on these, but there are a lot of changes coming up in plan as well. over the next 6 to 12 months that we're really, really excited about. They're going to help wrap both of these products into a really, really powerful platform that's going to help our customers be able to not just plan, but also manage their assets. And then I think what Chris was talking about at the start with our product vision of bringing it all around back into optimize and understanding what's next for those customers. So we know out there that it is much easier to get your next bit of business from an existing customer who's satisfied and happy than it is to go and try and get business off a new lead. So we really want to make that accessible and easy for you to do, because that's where we see the opportunity at Orkestra is you being able to deliver projects, manage them well, and that turns back into more business for you, and allows you to continue to scale and grow your companies. And that's what we're really excited about here. So I just want to wrap up there. I want to thank everybody for joining today. Big shout out, like I said, to the Orkestra team behind the scenes and our early customer group. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you to Chris and Tim and Harika today. It's been great seeing the product live in demo and seeing what's coming up as well. And I look forward to chatting to a lot of you after this. Please reach out. Like I said, there's a link in the chat there. Feel free to book in a meeting with myself or Jake. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thanks again, and have a good day. Bye. Thanks, everyone.